Welcome. You're listening to the 365 Firsts podcast, a show filled with stories of experiencing first times and all the fun, growth, unknowns, and excitement that go with them. It's also the place to get expert advice, motivation, and inspiration to get in on trying new things. And now, here's your host, the master of first times, and chick you're trying to keep up with, Ann Bernard.
I have invited Ben Azadi to provide some expert advice before your first time intermittent fasting. Ever since Ben went through a personal transformation of shedding 80 pounds of pure fat, he has been on a mission to help 1 billion people live a healthier lifestyle. Ben is the founder of Keto Kamp and the author of 3 best-selling books. Welcome to the show, Ben.
And I'm grateful to be here with you. Yeah, well, I got into it back in 2013. Had been experimenting with different diets and approaches. And ever since I went through my own transformation of weight loss, I lost 80 pounds back in 2008. I was curious on how to achieve health because I lost the weight, but I wasn't necessarily healthy. I was one of those fit, sick people. So I would experiment with different approaches. I tried a vegan approach for 1.5 years, and then it didn't work for me. And then I tried the ketogenic diet back then, 2013. And then I started to read about intermittent fasting. And I thought, this is crazy. I thought breakfast was the most important meal of the day. How could that make sense? So won't you go into the starvation mode and all these things that these myths essentially have been passed around, even by myself, and accepted as truth? I realized the science does not back it up. And then I started to really study ancestral health and realize that, wow, our ancestors, they didn't have the luxury like we do of having all these meals and these snacks available to us. So by their environment, they were forced to fast. And actually the cells in the body are designed for feasting and fasting. So that's when I started to really practice it for myself. And oh my gosh, it was my favorite tool in the shed. And until this day, 7-8 years later, it's still my favorite tool in the shed.
What does intermittent fasting even mean? What's the terminology behind it?
Yeah, great question. And so fasting, intermittent fasting is not something you do. It's something you don't do. You just don't eat. And that sounds a little crazy to people, but there's a lot of misconceptions around intermittent fasting. I know it's a very popular term right now. When you go on Dr. Google and you start typing in intermittent fasting, there's going to be millions and millions of results because people are getting results with it. But it's not new. It's not a trend. It's not a fad. It's a fact. It's been around since humans have been around. So it means a period of your day, you have your meals, you have your eating window, and then outside of that, you have your fasting window. And when you follow this cycle, and I'll share how to start doing it, when you follow this cycle, your cells thrive. You actually start burning fat, you start producing ketones, you have better energy levels, and you could actually allow your body to do what it's designed to do, which is, by the way, to deal with viruses and bacteria and pathogens, because it takes a lot of resources and to process food, to digest food, to eat that food. So when you're not eating food, your body has all these resources and it's using it for healing. So how do you get started with fasting? You could get started simply by fasting 3 hours before bed. So let's say you go to bed at 11 p.m. every single night. Well, then make your cutoff, last bite of food, last piece of chocolate for Ann, is at 8 p.m. and then you're done. You could have water, you could have some tea, but no food. Go to sleep. You're using your sleep as a fasting window. And then when you wake up, you wait 3 hours to eat your next meal. So if you wake up at 7, you wait until 10 a.m. to break that fast, which, by the way, the definition of breakfast is break fast, but it doesn't mean it has to be first thing in the morning. So that's how you get started. You wait 3 hours before, or you fast 3 hours before bed, and then you wait 3 hours after waking up to have your first meal.
What are the you do not consume and you can consume during a fast?
Well, if you want to get the most benefits from a fast, you just have some water and some sea salts to get some electrolytes in. That'll get the most benefits. If that's a little bit too challenging for you, then yeah, have some coffee, have some tea. If you want to throw in a little bit of some healthy fat with your coffee or tea, like coconut oil or even grass-fed butter, that's okay as well. It does break a traditional fast, but you're still going to get most of the benefits. But if you're having, like Ann said, juices that have all these calories, that has sugar, it has carbohydrates, that will break your fast and it's going to negate the benefits. So you don't want to have like a juice cleanse There's benefits to it, but it's not a fast, okay? A juice fast, it's not a traditional fast. If you're getting sugar and carbs in during a fast, it'll break the fast. So a rule of thumb here is water, some sea salt, and if you want, some coffee and tea, and I would cap it right there.
What are the benefits that I will see, that I will feel, and how long is it going to take for me to start having those benefits?
Yeah, great question. There's a long list of benefits. There's fat loss, because when your body is not eating food, it's going to need to get energy from somewhere. So it'll start breaking down your fat cells. Terrific. If you have 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 200 pounds to lose, then this is going to be a powerful fat loss tool. Also, it helps dramatically, significantly with your energy levels and focus, because here's what happens. The body, when you go 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours without food, the body starts to think that you're in a famish, right? We're hardwired this way, because back in the day, we did go through periods of time where there was no food. So all of our cells are designed this way. So it'll start pumping the body full of energy and focus and these hormones, these resources to help you go out there, hunt, and kill your next meal. That's what the body thinks it wants you to do. So we use all that energy, all the resources, all the focus to crush our day. So you have this clarity, you have this focus. That's one benefit right there. Another benefit is your body needs to get energy from somewhere. So here's an analogy I'm going to give for your audience. Think of the refrigerator that you have inside of your kitchen right now. If you open the fridge, picture like opening up your fridge, looking at all your groceries. Every grocery has an expiration date. So think of that refrigerator as the body, the human body. What will happen in that fridge if you let all of the groceries expire, but instead of kind of taking them out of the trash or out of the fridge and putting them into the trash, instead of doing that, you kind of just push them towards the back of the fridge, and then you go to the supermarket or you order online in this case, and you get it delivered to you, and then you put the new groceries in front of the old expired ones and close that fridge door. Well, the human body is the same way. We have cells, we have proteins, we have different things called mitochondria in the body that need to be recycled and thrown out like these groceries. One of the best ways to get this process is through fasting. The body is so smart, it has this innate intelligence within it that when you are not eating food, it needs to get energy. So it's so smart that it seeks out these damaged cells, damaged protein, the expired groceries, and it uses that for energy.
How long can someone expect to be in that state before they actually do get the energy and they can continue to stay focused even though they are hungry?
Yeah, if you do it the right way, so the way I teach it in my Keto Kamp Academy is to do 28 days of getting what I call keto adapted, getting fat adapted for 28 days. And then after that, we start the fasting. I think if you go in it too soon, the body doesn't have this flexibility, this metabolic flexibility to start burning fat. So all of a sudden your sugar reserves get low, you have these intense cravings, and you can't focus. So it sounds like that was happening to you. So I would say, not to complicate things, just to make things simple for your audience, go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks where you're having less carbohydrates, maybe less than 100 grams or 50 grams of carbs per day, and you're increasing your fats, your healthy fats, and your protein, just to teach the body to start utilizing fat. Once you feel good that you're doing that, then you could start the fasting process, and that was when you actually could get and feel the benefits that I'm talking about. So do the keto adaptation and then pair the fasting second.
What are the risks of overdoing it to where, okay, now I'm going to fast, but in my eating window, I'm going to eat less than I would. So I'm also going to go into calorie deficiency.
Yeah, you can. I love fasting. I think it's such a powerful tool. But a chainsaw is a powerful tool that can get the job done or hurt you. Same thing with fasting. So yeah, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So even with fasting, you don't want to do too much fasting. With that being said, it's important to eat at least one meal every single day during your eating window. Eat at least one meal until full to remind the body that it's not starving. Fasting, intermittent fasting, is not necessarily about eating less. It's about eating less often. So you can still have the same calories you need to get, but you have it within a certain window. But with that being said, you might be in a calorie deficit even with the intermittent fast, because it probably might be hard to get all those calories for some people within that window. But here's the difference between, and I don't know how scientific you want me to get, but there's a difference between cutting your calories, but eating small portion control meals throughout the day, and cutting your calories with intermittent fasting. And here's the difference. Something called counter-regulatory hormones. So the body actually raises its metabolism during a fast, doesn't slow it down. This would not happen if you're having small portion control meals throughout the day. So the rule of thumb here is have your feasting window where you eat until full, and then have your fasting window. And as long as you could balance that out and have one meal per day until full, you should be all right.
What is happening to my blood sugar and through all of this?
It's great things are happening. It's one of the best ways to regulate your blood sugars. One of the best ways to reverse type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. So if you do it the right way, like I mentioned with the getting keto adapted first, then you pair intermittent fasting, your blood sugar, you will not go hypoglycemic, which a lot of people are afraid of. The blood sugar is going to just drop so much. That can happen if you're, a sugar burner and you just decide to fast tomorrow for 18 hours. That can happen and you're going to feel miserable. But if you do it the right way, your blood sugars are going to be stable. So you could always test. I mean, I have all my clients and the members testing with like a machine called Keto Mojo. They're testing their blood sugars. What you want to look for if you're testing is you want to make sure your ketones are increasing during a fast and your glucose is dropping. As long as you see that trend, you're all right. But if you're not somebody who wants to prick their finger, it's fine. You don't have to do that. But your blood sugars will be fantastic. And the more you fast, the more you do this, the better it's going to get. It might be a little bit of a speed bump at first, but the more you do it, it's like a muscle, like I said, that you develop, and it'll get stronger and you'll get better at it.
Should I preserve my energy, chill out on the couch, watch some TV, or can I still exercise?
Yeah, you could definitely exercise during an intermittent fast. If it's longer than like 36 hours or so, I would say no. But less than 24 hours, intermittent fasting, it's actually beneficial. You would get more fat burning. You get more of that autophagy process that I mentioned with the cells recycling. So you get even more of that when you exercise in the fasted state. Because think of it this way. When you go into a workout, whether it is a 30-minute jog, a CrossFit workout, a bodybuilding workout, whatever it is, when you go into a workout but you ate a meal right before, your body is going to burn that meal before you burn the body fat. So if your goal is to lose body fat, why have that roadblock? Because your body is like putting food at the front of this metabolic bus. Your body is going to burn whatever's at the front of that bus.
That's something that someone can expect is they might be getting a little colder. What is that all about?
Yeah, it's one of the most common things that I see is, why am I cold during a fast? Especially during the beginning of people when they experiment with fasting. There's a couple reasons. I mean, when you eat food, your body does warm its temperature to process that food. So when you're not eating food, that's not happening. That's number one. Also, the body wants to always preserve its vital organs, the brain, the kidneys, the heart. So during a fast, it'll send blood flow to those organs and away from your extremities. So your hands and feet might get a little cold. Also, your body is burning fat, as I mentioned, during a fast. So when you activate something called brown fat. And it's brown fat because it's very mitochondrial dense. But it takes blood flow away from your muscle tissue when it does this, and that could result in feeling cold. And then the final reason is because of, for some people, there's a neurotransmitter called orexin, and some studies have shown in mice that when they put these mice in a fasted state, these levels of orexin drop and their body temperature drops as well. There's no such thing as a failed fast. So if you go for 16 hours but you only do 12 or 13, it's a success. You learn, you grow from it, and you just build from there. So never look at that as like a setback. It's not. It's a setup. It's a setup for you to continue working this fasting muscle. So every fast has its benefits, and there's no such thing as a failed fast. That's what I would say.
So if they want to learn more and get started with this with some help and assistance.
Yeah, my podcast, since this is a podcast, go listen to the Keto Kamp podcast, Camp with the K. I have currently 134 episodes on there in less than a year, and we do a lot of stuff on there. And then my YouTube channel, just type in Keto Kamp, Camp with the K on YouTube. And then if you want to get actual coaching from me, I do have an online program called the Keto Kamp Academy, and I do have a free 7-day trial over at ketokampacademy.com.
Appreciate you being on. You passed some really great content and advice. And I think for those who have been hesitant to get started after listening to this episode, they should really just jump in there and give it a go with prepping themselves properly before doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got this. If you're listening and you're excited about that, you got it. And go watch my videos if you need some more coaching on it or some information on it. And then if you want to get coaching, you have the link available to you. And yeah, it was a great conversation. I had fun with you, Ann. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for being here.
You've been listening to the 365 Firsts podcast. Hope you've gotten inspired to start your journey of first times and new experiences. Join the 365 Firsts Challenge by downloading the app at your local app store. Check out Next Level Firsts Coaching for additional assistance. Contact us if you want to share the stories of your latest firsts on the show. Now, go get busy having new experiences.